Hi everyone, Stuart Hayden here, founder of Storm Beach, specialising in authentic leadership, which is authentic leaders at the heart of our posting today. I'm a coach, consultant, facilitator, author and speaker, working with lots of different teams, individuals and organisations, but it always comes back to that authentic leadership for me. So this is a quick posting, a quick tool that can help you be precise about your values as an authentic leader and also about giving you permission to demonstrate those. So let's first of all have a quick look at what authenticity or what authentic leadership might mean. This image is designed to kind of reflect the inner and the outer. The inner being recognising your inner values that are unique to you, and then the outer, the external, being demonstrating those externally. The key part to that, the inside out process, the imagery around that, the really key part of that, and that's why I'm going to do some work with you today, is it has to be skillful. If it's not skillful, sometimes that inner value manifests itself in an unskillful way, which is sometimes sort of labelled as a maverick. Someone who's very aware but not really skillful with that associated value. So sometimes you recognise something internally and you know when, where and how to demonstrate that externally. But sometimes, being compliant, you might have to hold that back a little bit or just construct the message in a different way. So sometimes we have to be compliant and also watch that need to be defiant. Sometimes it does surface and sometimes it works well, but being defiant can sometimes not always be that skillful as well. But if you're somewhere in the middle, that harmony between compliant, defiant, inside out, skillful, you'll be in good shape. But this next exercise, really short, 3 questions, is designed to support you in being skillful in that inside out journey. 3 questions to rule them all. First question on the left hand side, what values are important to you? So we'll generate those in a second. Middle question is, when did you first recognise this value? This is a really important question about that precision. And finally, the permission question comes more so on the right hand side, is when did you first take a stand for this value? So let's start with the first question. What values are important to you? So in your own way, whether you're writing a list there, letting things enter your head, just reflect on what values are important to you. These are values that demonstrate time and time again throughout your life from an early age, through family, education, work, etc. Things you'll still be demonstrating now, or at least holding important to you. And this will soon generate into a big long list. For now, and obviously you can do a lot of this work offline, you don't need to be here with me for later reflection. Just choose one of those, whichever one is important to you right now, whichever one's resonating perhaps the most. And then just plug that into that box over there. So for me, to give you a little bit of an example, I'm going to choose autonomy. You'll see why a bit later on, because it's really present with me today. So that autonomy and independence that I value. The middle question is about that precision now. So this is about really reflecting, when did you first recognise this value? Really go back in time, really explore, reflect, talk to people, get the photos out, do whatever you need to do. But really reflect on, when did you first recognise this value? And people, when they do this exercise, they talk about 2 things. Some people, depending on their personality and the situation that arose, talk about it being a snapshot in time, something they remember really clinically, really coherently, just one snapshot. A moment when someone said something, did something, you did something, someone did something to you. That's one way that the kind of reflection might develop. The second one then is also putting the photos together and developing a bit of a film of your life. So people talk about, well, I don't really know when it was, but it was when I was in school for those 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever it might be, a phase in your life, more of a movie. So the movie or snapshot, whichever appears to you, just go for that. But really get precise, really go back to that earliest moment. So for me, autonomy, when I first recognised this value, was when I was about 4 years old, right up there with my early memories. So I'm talking about sort of top first 5 things I remember. Same time when I was learning to ride a bike, so it was really early on for me. I remember going to my dad's car, and Dad has been self-employed pretty much all his life. His car was an ecosystem of work. There's paperwork, receipts, files, all sorts in there. And as a 4-year-old, I went in there and I started what I would call filing, I suppose, but being autonomous on my own, shut the door, and started, mimicking Dad and his paperwork. So really clear moment in my memory, very, very clear. I remember being in the car, I remember the colour of the car vividly, I remember all these different things, where I was sitting, the handles of the car, the fact that I couldn't really open the door properly to get out, because I was so small, all these kind of things. So plug that in there and really go for that. And again, you might not even be there yet on this session, but reflect on that, see where you get to. The final one is, when did you first take a stand for this value? Really important now. This is about permission to demonstrate this value on the external, skillfully, is when did you first take a stand for this? So stand normally involves when someone else was involved, or there's a certain action you can describe, or where you took that value and made it valuable to someone else. It was useful to someone else, maybe just to you, but in doing so it's probably useful to other people around you as well. So for me, I've got autonomy, mimicking my dad, working independently. When I really first took a stand for this, and not to say I didn't take a stand for this prior to this, but probably didn't call it autonomy in, of course, my early years, was after graduation. I worked in the family business. 3 years later, I had that real need to be autonomous. And for me, that was moving away from a smaller town, a close network, to going overseas for a couple of years to work without that network, without that comfort zone, and travelling alone, being alone, and having to really fend for myself. So that's when I really took a first stand for that, and that stands me in good stead. Now, the reason why we do this, the reason why I mention this, is you identify your inner values. It's really about the final P on this side, is once you've had the precision over here, it's about permission to demonstrate that value. Because many times in my life, I feel like I'm just playing in my dad's car, early days. And the reason I mention it today, I'm having great fun doing this. This is creative, interesting, doing stuff on the website today. I really feel like I shouldn't be doing this. It doesn't comply. I should be complying with something else. But it's what my work is all about. It's wonderful, but it's also really energizing, really authentic to me to tap back into that value and almost take me back to that, that thought and feeling, and the body won't know different whether I'm there or not to when I was in that young age in that car. So give yourself the opportunity to be precise on the left-hand side. What values are important to you? When did you first recognise that value? And I want you to go really far back in that. And once you have that precision, you can be on the right-hand side. You can have that permission to take those inner values, demonstrate them on the outside environment, externally. And the key part to that in doing this, but the key part to bear in mind, is how you can make that skillful, because that's where authenticity sits. Good luck, enjoy that. There's plenty more tools on the website that kind of link into this, but for now, that's all about how to recognise your values and be authentic.